Hey, Jesse, good. How are you? Mega, how are you this evening? I got two people in the chat already, and it only says one person is with us. That is so weird. Simone, how are you? Getting hammered by a thunderstorm tonight. You can see the rain on the window. The police officer is out there. You see? Oh. Can you see him? There he is, hanging out. Have you? Yeah, Mega. 100%. I was actually thinking about that today. I really think for some reason, I don't know what, but maybe I have to get like 20,000 more subs or something for them to really push my channel. I'm not sure. Hey, Janie, how are you? Mom Hala, Mahala, how are you? Colleen, Firehorse, how are you? John, Parag, how are you? Troy, good evening. Sharon, good evening. What a beautiful moon. Oh, on the poster, there's no moon. We're having a thunderstorm. So our mascot will not be joining us tonight because he is hiding. Alan, how are you this evening? I'm doing well, Janie. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Knack, how are you tonight, buddy? Yeah, we just got over our heat wave, Robert. Our heat wave was like Tuesday till today. And now it's done. It's 69 degrees out. 69. So Jacob Hillard, how are you? Brandy Boone, how are you? Let me take my shoes off here. Get comfy. Getting comfy. I appreciate that, Mahala. Appreciate that. Amber, how are you this evening? DC is snuck in on me. Good stuff, Nick. Good stuff. There's Joe. How are you, Joe? I hope you're doing well today. Diana Hill is with us tonight. DC came through the back door. What's up, 4,000? Ooh, a little bit of thunder. The storm is looping around. It's what happens when you're surrounded by water on all sides of you. We got the Hudson River that way, and Lake George that way. So it's just going to be like, yeah, there's lightning. I was showing everybody the rain on the window. You guys, you see our buddy? You see him? He's out there. He's a stalking me. He's a stalking me. Because he knows $20 is $20. Haha, little stalker. What's up, DB Mac? Isabel was wondering about that today. She's like, Daddy, why is that policeman always parked there? And I said, I don't know. Caden, how are you, buddy? Snuck in the back door yourself. 59th, how are you? The cops there every Saturday, Diana Hill. Every Saturday. What's going on, Dave? Alligator Horse, how are you? Yeah, Alan Howell, you definitely don't want to be bent over the gifting rock or the sharing stone. BB Mac. It is weird. It's definitely weird. What's up, Truth Quest? How are you? Peter Parsons. If you say your name really fast, it reminds me of Peter Parker. Peter Parsons. Nairoshi, how are you? Southern Charmer, how are you? Sounds good, Cody Laughing Wolf. Sounds good. Looking forward to hearing it or reading it. I had made a suggestion to subscribers that send me an email. Like a few this week said, hey, how do you want me to say this or share this? And I was like, if you could type it out so I can narrate it and then have you on. I didn't get an email from you, Diana. I'm glad you're here, Southern Charmer. What's up, Rogue Volunteer? Drinking the old black lemon tea tonight. But I've got the Coke with me too. Potato stew with broccoli and celery. Huh. I don't know how that sounds. I don't know if that sounds good to me. That sounds scary. But if it's good for you, it's good for me. What's up, Nick Hendricks? How are you tonight? Glenn, how are you tonight, Glenn? So I've got a good, it's good. Onions and beef. Okay. As long as it's got beef in it. Now we're cooking. But I don't know about the broccoli. The broccoli scares me. I only like broccoli cheese soup. That's good. Owl, how are you? Dude, I like your name. Check this out. Shit. What fell? Oh. So I got a shirt this week, and I save tags if they're cool. I'm a little weird. But I thought this tag was really cool. Let me try to get it straight for you. Look at that owl. Isn't that cool? It's a Japanese fishing owl. The Katupa blackistoni. Patuca blackistoni. And I was like, you know what? I like that. It's going on the board. I love owls. Owls are just cool shit, man. I need to fix my dishwasher. I remember one time there was a owl sitting in the road. And me and my cousin, we were young. We were going on a burn cruise. And it was just sitting in this like random location of a road. And it was going to get hit if we weren't good people. Because, people are fucking assholes. And we got out of the car. And I'm looking at the back of the owl. And I walk up to it like all excited. I'm full of glee. And the fucker turns its head on me. And like staring at me. And I'm like, and I'm fucking ripped out of my mind. And I'm like, and I like go to scare it a little to get it off the road. And it walks. It doesn't fly. The fucker walked off the road, went into the woods. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Use your wings, buddy. I have no idea why he walked like that. He was cool, though. He was cool. I'll never forget. That's something like, you have little things that just randomly happen. That's something that happened that will always stay with me. And just because it was such an interesting. So I took Isabel to the bookstore today, my buddy. Me and little Bud went to the bookstore, and she got 2 books and a bookmark at Barnes and Noble's, which was like $60 for 2 books and a bookmark. But I got 2 books myself, actually 3. I got the Andrew Bourdain World Traveler book, because one person I wish I had the opportunity to meet was Bourdain. But I got this interesting book called Adirondack Ghosts, and I got another book called Adirondack Civilian Conservation Corps. And as you guys know that have been here, I wear the Conservation Corps hat, the Civilian Conservation Corps hat a lot. And it's got just a bunch of historic history on what they did during the period of time they were here, which was just amazing. But I left this out because I wanted to share something with you guys. If you guys ever get a chance to come up to Lake George region, there's a lot of stuff. George, how are you? Do something. How are you, buddy? Dave. No, I've never seen a barn owl. Beretta Vandy, how are you? Adam Condon. William Ward, how are you, buddy? So there's this, for those of you who have been to upstate New York or Lake George, you will know this place that I'm talking about. IE Native, how are you, my friend? There's this place called the Frankenstein Wax Museum, and it's right on Canada Street in Lake George. Hey, Tommy, how are you? I wondered where you've been, actually. I'm glad you're here with us tonight. Mona Harper, how are you? So Canada Street kind of runs along Lake George. It's the best way I can explain Lake George, if you've never been here, would be a tourist trap, except in the fall, spring, fall, winter. Great. I love it that time because all the people are gone. But there's this place called the Frankenstein's Wax Museum. And me and the girls have gone there a zillion times. I've gone there since I was a little kid, but I never heard this story, and I wanted to share it with you. I hope not, Caden. I hope not. Last time it was mayonnaise, and it ran down the old crack. So I wanted to share this with you guys. The House of Frankenstein Wax Museum. It's 213 Canada Street, Lake George, New York. The history. The House of Frankenstein Wax Museum in Lake George Village sits on ground where Huron Indians and an assortment of religious heretics experienced torture and execution. Allegedly, English colonists used the spot as the town gallows. An estimated 1,000 people lost their lives at this once and still grisly location. According to Weird New York, a private residence stood on the site prior to the present-day structure. The old dwelling sheltered 2 brothers who ended up committing suicide. In 1973, Canadian owners razed the residence and constructed the current building. The ghastly exhibits at this tourist attraction are not typical haunted house portrayals. Representations of torture, murder, and similar scenes are presented. Some exhibits are inspired by literature and film, such as The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and The House of Wax. Historical events are also represented, including the Salem witch trials and Jack the Ripper, amongst others. Back in the day, before instant access to information via internet, wax museums taught travelers about historical events and brought them face to face with notable figures. The haunting. It's macabre to consider that supposedly 5 employees committed suicide off-site during the first 3 years of the House of Frankenstein Wax Museum's operation. Allegedly, a female specter roams the museum's dark corridor. The woman's ghostly presence is forewarned by an icy chill in the air. Disembodied footsteps resound when guests are not around, and employees feel an overwhelming sense of dread. The paranormal events experienced here only add to the creepiness of the attraction. So, what I want to do is I want to take my ghost hunting equipment like I did at the Conjuring house, and I want to bring it all there. Well, no one's there. I'm going to try to go up in the fall when everybody drags ass and be like, hey, will you allow me to spend a couple of hours here and maybe do a live stream from it? Like go through it with my SLS camera, my EVP recorder. Because once Belle and I and Abigail were all walking, we were going through it. It was 2 years ago. And we were at the end. In the end, it has this kind of balancing beam that you've got to walk on. And it's got mirrors all the way around you. And as we were walking through the end, there was this weird fucking woman that popped up at it, like at the doorway. And Abby and I and Belle all felt like, just like, that's really weird. Like, should that have been there? Should she have been there? And then I read this today and I'm like, whoa. And I brought it to Abby or Belle and I'm like, buddy. And she's like, that's crazy. So I think I'm going to do an on-site live stream from that if they'll allow me to. I'll probably have to slip them some money, but it'll be fucking worth it because if I can catch some sort of whatever proof like I did at the Conjuring house, that'd be amazing. Yeah, I'd have to do it during fall, Truth Quest, because all the people that are here suck. Like, they're just rude people from Jersey. And, like, if there's anybody from Jersey, I'm not saying you're rude, but I'm saying the people that come up here on vacation, like, they think our town is their town, and they just shit all over everything. So, Clint, how are you? Mr. Fuji, how are you? I myself love the smell of napalm in the morning. That's a great comment from a great movie. Yes, it would be cool if I could get in at around Halloween. Or maybe, if I'm going to do a live stream, I couldn't save it for Halloween. But maybe record some stuff that you guys don't see and put it up on Halloween or whatever. I've got a stack once again for us tonight, and I'm looking forward to sharing them with us. Do you have videos of you at the Conjuring house? There's a whole hour and a half video on the channel, William Ward. I watched a lot of videos on the Conjuring house just to see what people have caught. But on the SLS camera, I have never seen anyone catch what me and Isabel caught. There's a basement room where this lady called the Crooked Neck Lady is supposed to be. And I'm on one side of this window and we're looking in and there's a stick figure with the SLS cam on one side. And then there's this like just crooked fucking person stick figure on the other side. And no one's ever caught it. Janice Morrow, how are you? State hospital. Ooh, state hospitals are always just... Marge, how are you? Oh, really quick. There's a subscriber. I'm not going to share her last name. Her name is Mary. And she just went through what I went through. She's going through what I went through with my dad, with her mom. So if we can keep Mary, she's usually at the live stream. every Saturday. But if we can keep Mary and her mom in our prayers, please, that would mean so much. She emailed me today saying she wasn't going to be here, and I'm like, you didn't have to email me, but thank you, and your mom is in my prayers. I felt so bad. All right, so rockin' steady. How are you? Tyler Steven, how are you? I am so drunk. Just don't get crazy, Tyler. Please, my friend. Please don't get crazy. All right, check this out. Here we go. For some context, I'm British and I live in England. No, where else would you live, bud? Ha ha! Just kidding. For context, I'm British and I live in England. And this experience took place while I was 15 years old. I am now 24, but it has bugged me ever since it happened. This is a very short experience, but one that has lingered in the back of my mind ever since it happened. I was playing video games on a Wednesday night, and there was a knock on the door at around 11 p.m., which was out of the ordinary and in of itself a bit odd. My mom was the one who answered it, but since it was so late, I came out to see who it was myself. We have a square-shaped spiral staircase, which with platforms as you go down each step, and there is a balcony at the top, which I could overlook. It was also dark, so it would be hard for them to see me, especially from outside the front door. When my mom opened the door, there were two men who she described as sounding German and wearing black suits. They were pasty white, tall, shaven, and quite bulky. They didn't say anything like why they were there, what they wanted, or who they were, just asking if I was home. What got me was they didn't just go by my first name, but also by my last name, Turo, like the second doctor, which is not common. My mom thankfully said no and told them they have the wrong house. Mom closed the door and told me that they were still outside looking through our windows. She told me to stay out of sight since she thought they were eyeing the house to see if I was home or not. 20 minutes later, they finally left the pavement, but Mom was convinced they were sitting in their car watching. So I hid a bit longer. It was really intimidating, especially considering I was 15 and had never done anything malicious. This was 9 years ago, and I've heard nothing since. I've always wondered who they were, what they wanted, or if there was even malicious intent. Nonetheless, it freaked me out. To clarify, I am not certain they were German. That's just what my mom said their accent reminded her of. They were quite quiet, so I barely heard them myself, and only got a chance glance at them in the dark outside the door. Here are some theories. Harmless prank by a friend called some religious group to the house, Jehovah's Witness, Mormon, etc. I somehow ended up on a cult list. The deep web could have led them to me somehow. Dude, that's fucking creepy. What's up, Kurt? How are you, buddy? Chrissy, how are you tonight? Jersey Nightcat, how are you? I am doing well, Chrissy. Thank you for asking. Pal C, how are you? Vinny Durant, what's going on? Crazy Backyard Chicken Man. So I'm wondering what the hell. Don Morris, how are you tonight? So I'm wondering what the hell that is. Jeb, how are you? You know, like, why would men in black come to harass a 15-year-old boy? You know? But they were like creeping around the house. I don't think it was a prank. I don't think, that doesn't make sense. Maybe they wanted to abduct him. Maybe they were just, who knows? Hey, Mindy, how are you? Well, I'm good. Glad seeing you. Glad seeing you, Jeb. Anyone ever look into the area of still missing in Tennessee? Really? Attacked. I believe he's still missing. Alicia, how are you? The Voodoo Rangers got me good. Matthew Mack, what's going on, brother? Craigers, Nicole, how are you? Gringo. So now that everyone's coming in, he parked right there tonight, guys. Can you see him? Hang on. Can you see him now? Look at that policeman, and there's no one in the car. And I've gotten emails, people saying, well, maybe he drives home at night. There's not a police officer that lives around me. I've lived here for almost 10 years and know everybody that lives in this vicinity. So I don't know. Maybe Craigers, thank you so much, buddy. Thank you. Maybe he's sleeping. And maybe he needs a wake-up call. What about? Oh! If he's sleeping, he's not anymore. Buddy. Shut the blind. It's giving me the creeps. Ever hear the theory that the metallic... Well, James Moses, I don't know. Then you've never seen the video where Tom Mezek disappeared and I actually caught the metallic noise and shared it via video with you guys. I do think it's a portal. And I literally caught it. There was wind blowing trees. You could hear that. But then you could quite clearly hear that metallic noise. And I was 2 to 3 miles in the deep woods in the location where Tom Mezek disappeared. So, yeah. There's pretty much no other explanation to it. You know, and it's kind of funny that, you know, and I have to comment on this, okay? David Paulides brought the missing 411 to our attention, all right? It doesn't matter how you feel about the man. Like, I personally have never met him. I just think he's kind of like arrogant, but I think he's a badass researcher because he brought something so special and so creepy to our eyes that I have the utmost respect for him. It's kind of crazy that nobody prior to David bringing that to our attention ever talked about a metallic noise in the woods, right? I catch it, so and shared it with you guys. But then there's people that are like, I heard this metallic noise in their encounter, you know, and like nobody ever said it before. David shared it with us. I just find that's weird. You know what I mean? I don't think it happens at every place. I just find it strange that there are so many people out there like wanting to jump on the dick that they'll say anything happened to them. Moondog Rex. He's actually a court liaison officer. If you really look into his career. But yeah. Oh, no cap. You should have sent me an email, buddy. We could have gotten some coffee. I would have loved to have gotten coffee. Ball lightning? Ball lightning's pretty creepy. Did you do a eclipse upload? Yes. Nels wins. Yes, I did do an eclipse upload. Yep. Absolutely. I look forward to it, brother. I do believe that then, Rockin' Steady. I do buy that 100%. I just think it's crazy. Like, people are like, I heard this metallic noise. And then they're like, nobody, it's just, I don't know. I mean, David brought something truly special to the eyes of us. And he's a madman at his research on it. I don't agree with some of the things, but the guy's just, he really like, and I like how he's not steady on one thing. Like, he'll be like, okay, UFOs possibly. No, maybe not. How about portals? Okay, no, maybe not. Cryptids. Okay, maybe not. And he's really opened his mind to things. I like that about him. And enough of that. That's the max you'll hear from me. This was around 2015. Not sure what month, but it was around 11 p.m. I was driving from my dad's place to my mom's. My dad owned 75 acres of spooky property. We live in the Florida Panhandles. Anyway, I'm driving. I had just started down the long driveway when I felt like I was being watched. Not cool, but it happens more often than you would believe. I'm nearing the highway when I see a dark shape at the edge of the woods. Oh, well, probably a deer. I shake it off. We have tons of wildlife in the area, from deer to panther to the occasional bear. Then it starts chasing me. Keep in mind, please, that this is somewhat normal in my mind. I have tons of weird shit that happens, and it's not like it was just barreling at me. It was moving after my car. James Moses, thank you, brother. It was moving after my car, staying at the edge of the woods. So I keep my pace, turn onto the highway, and speed up to 50 miles an hour or so. I keep noticing something in my peripheral. So I slow down and start looking for what it could be. A few yards behind me, I see this huge dog. I grew up with large dogs. My aunt had a St. Bernard mix growing up, and I had various other large dogs. This thing was literally the size of my car. Bears don't chase cars, and we only have black bear, which are like the most docile. Okay, now I'm freaking out. I gun it, releasing a long stream of curses and telling my car to get over it. It was a poorly kept 95 Honda Accord. I seemingly can't shake it for too long, so in the act of bravery, real stupid, I pull over in a church parking lot thinking maybe it's some sort of hell beast and it won't come into the light or onto church land. Well, was I ever wrong? I stop to get my phone out and call my boyfriend. In that period, it catches up, jumps onto my car. I can see and feel and hear the metal popping and creaking. I see drool splatter on my windshield. I scream, drop my phone. It jumps off my car onto the hood, where I get a glimpse of it before it goes into the cemetery and disappears. A gated cemetery. It had to jump the fence. It was definitely a dog built like a Rottweiler pit bull mix, but darker and larger. It was solid black with the paws the size of dinner plates. Its huge head almost the size of my car side window. I don't know why it decided to leave me alone, but it did, and I am thankful. I finally got a hold of my boyfriend crying. He calmed me down, listened, and told me that when I get home, I should take pictures. When I got home, I should take pictures. And I did, or at least I tried. By the time I got to my mom's, the only thing left was a single dent on the roof of my car and some faint claw marks that were more like indentations in the metal. Why did the damage disappear? I don't know. Was this a corporeal creature or a supernatural beast? Thank you for allowing me to share. Yeah, Chris. Yep. I think that's who I was talking about, though. What's up, Kimberly? How are you? Dimitri, how are you? Yeah, sounded like a hellhound. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I was thinking, what's that dog from Ghostbusters? Um, that Zool had. Remember Zool? Or was Zool the dog? Was Zool the dog? Dozer! Dozer! Fucking Dozer. Haha. Hi, Tyler Marshall. How are you this evening? Yeah, it was Dozer. Absolutely. Crazy moon tonight. Yeah, tonight isn't tonight the moon above Stonehenge, I think, right? Dimitri, thank you, my friend. Yeah, Stonehenge. Did you see where those assholes they fucking sprayed that orange corn powdered paint on Stonehenge? How douchey is that? Book, it's with the publisher right now via me, Chris. Larry Lindman, holy shit. Thank you, brother. Larry Lindman just gifted 20 people freaking memberships. Awesome. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate you. I hope you're doing good. I hope your new job's doing well too, brother. Look at everybody. Damn, Larry Lindman. Amit, how are you tonight? Aussie Lana got a membership. Corpsewood Manor. Where is Corpsewood Manor? Rick Moranis was hilarious. You're absolutely right, J-Dad. What's the ring around the moon? I don't know. Maybe some people say it's like a light reflection, but I'm not a scientist. I don't really know. I know they say there's a second moon out there somewhere that people say they've seen. And I've seen something that's not the North Star that's pretty freaking huge. What's going on, William Menendez? Kent Chip Rissell, how are you? Yeah, there's some Nibiru. Nibiru is like the 9th or 10th missing planet, they call it. Yeah, the second moon. I thought I've seen it. I'm not sure. It looks bigger than the North Star. I don't know where exactly it's supposed to be in the skies, but I don't know. How many of you guys used to just lie down in a field and watch the sky, watch the stars, and see like a satellite or something move and get all excited thinking you saw a UFO? Spontaneous combustion. Derek Bailey, how are you? What do I think about spontaneous combustion? Um, Scientifically, it can be proven. Like if you're a drunk and you're sitting by fire, I mean, obviously you might blow up. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's unexplainable. I mean, they really can't give you a great answer for it unless you've got linseed oil on your clothes, or, you drank 151. I honestly don't know. Yes, the Starlinks. I do remember that, no cap. Remember, I was like, no, bro, that's Starlink. Oh my God. I actually saved that picture because it was such a good picture. Thank you. Shooting stars. Yeah. I wish I could still lie down in the fields and just watch. We got so many ticks in upstate New York. I'd get one in my ear or some shit like that. This one's pretty freaky. I had to take my watch off. Hang on. It's fucking bothering me. All right. Let me start off with my first encounter with this being. My friend and I were on our way back to my house when I turned down the road that I live on. A few feet down the road, which I actually ended up getting stuck in the snow in that exact spot twice about a year after this, we both saw a pair of eyes. Orangish yellow eyes, living in Indiana, covered with cornfields in both directions as far as the eye can see. I think it's an animal, and I start to slow down. The eyes are not moving like a normal animal would. They usually scurry away or at least turn and disappear into the cornfield. Now, the closer I got, I can't describe how I could see the details of it all because it was so dark. It completely lacked all light. My headlights were not illuminating it at all, but basically it looked like a crouched or perched person. It looked bony, but somehow still huge. At this point, we are pretty close, so I speed up a little, thinking Jeepers Creepers shit is about to happen. And I take off with my car. As we pass this creature staring directly into its eyes to see what it is, it disappears. Like a piece of paper, I was looking at him. You saw that, right? Every time we talk about it, me and my friend, it will come up. I share each one of those experiences here. I'll share each one of those experiences here. This experience was a week later. The next time I saw this entity, I was near the road, maybe 5 miles from my house. Same orange eyes. It was walking across the road from right to left toward someone's yard. And when I'm saying walking, I mean on all fours. It was completely black and huge this time. It had a tail that was probably at least 3 feet long. As it was passing from right side to the road to the left, it stopped in the middle. Mind you, I'm driving straight at this thing 60 miles an hour. I slowed and stopped on the yellow line in the middle of the road. And it turned to look at my boyfriend in the car. I'm 20 feet away, so I'm slowing down so it doesn't completely destroy my car. It just turned and kept walking. But the thing was so damn huge that it glided through the yard. When we passed the house, this dog thing was nowhere in sight. The house had a security light and was well lit on the outside. No sign of this thing anywhere. The next time it was seen was by my boyfriend. This was 2 to 3 weeks after the initial experience. He was outside smoking a cigarette on the porch. It's a cabin we use to store our pool stuff in. He sees the entity standing this time at the exact edge of the property, taller than the corn that it was standing next to. And this is about the end of August, so the corn is really tall at this time. And it stood there, same orange eyes, just watching my boyfriend, and he ran in the house. The next occurrence happened in 2017. I never shared this because talking about it brings it back. Every time I told this experience, it would come back, and it knew it. It knew I was talking about it. Almost as if talking about it gave it some sort of power or energy. I don't know. So the next incident was not me. I only had 2 initial occurrences. I got a call from my friend the other night. The same friend that I saw it with the first time. He was frantic. He said, "Cat, I saw it again. I saw it." I immediately knew what he was talking about and asked him where and what happened. He told me he was driving back way home because construction on the main highway. As he's driving, this tall black figure glides across the road and he watches it move. As it gets to the corn, it disintegrates and turns itself into smoke and travels into the cornfield. He watched the smoke dart through the cornfield. So, can someone tell me that I'm not psycho? Does this thing have a name? I haven't seen the entity since 2017. I don't ever want to see it again because of the overwhelming feeling of domination and evil. I'm not religious by any means. This thing reminds me of something I saw when I did the Ouija board too many times in high school. I think maybe she should pray. I think maybe she should find God, find something. Most definitely just, say a prayer. I don't know. Definitely sounds like a demon. Alex Carlton. Well, that's the interesting thing is with cryptozoology and anything paranormal at that, it's all theory. We don't know if it's real. Like, we know it's real. I know what I saw in 1994 was real. Robert Sharp knows they are flesh and blood. But yet there's people that have seen them. Like, I got a subscriber that lives down in Louisiana, and he saw the Rougarou, which looked like a Dogman at one point. But if you do research into the Rougarou can also turn into a black mist or like a crocodile-like man too. So that would be supernatural too. There's just, people see weird shit. And I think the more I look into like this weird stuff about the government and portals and the draconians, I really think that what we are seeing is things that are truly evil. Yes, there are flesh and blood, but then there are shit that's truly evil coming out of portals, coming out of alternate dimensions. Alan Howell, thank you so much, my friend. I truly appreciate you. But, like, scientists have already proved that there are alternate dimensions to our own dimension. So why wouldn't there be portals that open up to ours, And why would people think that something on that side of that dimension is good? Here's something to think about. Scientists have proved that there are other dimensions next to ours. Portals have opened. Let's say back in the day, back before, whenever these portals opened and people saw these creatures come out, wouldn't you call them demons? I would. Sasquatches can kill. 100%. Like, there's that story that Kuhnbo talked about where that woman and her boyfriend are at Lover's Lane. And the real story, there's so many bullshit stories. Andy Davis, what's going on? The real story is they were in Lover's Lane. They're doing it good. All of a sudden, a couple Bigfoot come out, and they not only have their way with the woman, but have their way with the man and ruin the man's booter hole. He ends up dead. She ends up moving out of our country. And so, they are evil. I don't think they kill for sport. I think, like monkeys. So like monkeys, like those chimpanzees and whatever. I hate fucking monkeys. I hate them. They'll like rip your dink off and your balls. That's for dominance. You know what I mean? So I think like maybe those 3 Sasquatch saw him doing his girl and they were like, holy shit, we are more dominant than you. Check this out. And then got real medieval on his ass. I don't know. Monkeys just freak me out, dude. Monkeys just. Thank you, Craigers. Do you know leprechauns made shoes? I know they make Lucky Charms. Mega, I got one for you. Don't worry. Web Surfer, how are you? Yeah, the first weekend of summer. Yes, yes. Truth in Christ, how are you tonight? Lucky Charms are magically delicious. I used to think Conor McGregor was a leprechaun until he got jacked on fucking juice, and now he's like, Big Gun, how are ya? Dogman. Tigger's hiding tonight, Caden. We're getting that storm, and he's hidden. I just moved from Muscle Shoals. That's where Coonbo is from, J-Dad. Initially, he's from that area. No, I don't think they are that much different. I mean, humanity can be evil. We are evil. Like, not evil, but certain humans are evil. So why can't these things be evil? You know what I mean? You hear, like, people have said, I saw a Dogman and it didn't attack me. It did something like this and it wasn't malicious. Or a Bigfoot, like, helped. You know, I've heard of a Bigfoot actually pulling a car. James, how are you, brother? Good seeing you. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. Nightshade, Blackwater, all got gifted. Lady Raven Moon. James gifting all those people the membership just pulled people out that don't talk in the live stream. That's so awesome. Thank you, James. I appreciate you. I love you, brother. Yes, Bobby. I actually made a video saying that my name, I proved, like, some guy made a video saying that I didn't live in New York State once. And I made a video like showing my Republican ID card and fucking my birth certificate. So yes, Bobby. What did you do to your left arm? Oh, right there. I got blood taken 2 weeks ago and they caused a hematoma and it still hasn't gone down. Yeah, I live in the Hamptons. I wish. No, I don't wish. Holy shit, no. If you met your doppelganger, are you good or bad, Jeff? I'm in between. I'm an in-between Jeff. I'm not good or bad. Because, like, I think everybody has the capability of being good and bad. You know what I mean? Like, I think you fuck with my kids and I'll probably really be fucking really bad. But other than that, I'm pretty easy going. Aramek, how are you? I don't know. I don't know if doppelgangers can kill you or not. I've heard possibly they can, but I don't know. And I don't know if that, like, you know, how do you prove that? Because if it killed you, you wouldn't know, right? Tara Baby, how are you tonight? How about a black-eyed kids experience? Black-eyed kids? Black-eyed kids? 248 people, 140 likes. Come on, guys. Hit the freaking like button. Ugh. Oh, Us. Us was a creepy movie. Jordan Peele, wow. He's a genius. He really is a genius. All right. Smack that like button like it took your lunch money. Let me get a drink. This experience happened with a black-eyed woman mid-December of 2014. I was living in downtown Phoenix at the time. I just moved into my apartment the previous month. I was out with some friends that night and got home at around 10 p.m. I had to be at work by 5 a.m., so I went straight to bed. I woke up. Start all over. My experience with a black-eyed woman happened mid-December of 2014. I was living in downtown Phoenix at the time and just moved into my apartment the previous month. I was out with some friends that night and got home at around 10 p.m. I had to be at work at 5 a.m., so I went straight to bed. I woke up abruptly to a knock on my door and thought, it's 2 a.m., who the hell's at my door? I lied my head back down, but then I heard the knocking again. I peeked out the window to see who it was. It was a young Hispanic woman who was very pale. She yelled, "I need your help." I immediately sprung out of bed thinking this girl was in trouble. I instantly thought of my sister or my mom. If they were in that position, I would hope someone would help them. I cracked the door open and said, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" She said, "I need to use your phone." Her voice was very calm, but something was just wrong. She was maybe 5'8", 18 to 20 years old. Everything about her seemed normal, but she had on these strange glasses and a strange vibe. I told her, "Hold on, let me grab it." I went back to my room to grab my phone when I heard the door slowly open. I quickly began to have second thoughts about what I just did, opening the door to a stranger. I walked back out to give her the phone, and I saw her lying on my couch. I told her, "Make it quick. I need to be at work in a couple of hours." As I said that, she turned her head towards me, took off her glasses, and smiled. I couldn't move. Her eyes were completely black, like someone sharpied her eyeballs, and had some type of black substance on her teeth. She stood up and eased her way towards me. I tossed her the phone, not wanting to be anywhere near this person. She grabbed it, made 2 calls, which I later found out were from disconnected numbers. When she was done, I asked her, "Can you wait outside for your ride? I need to sleep." She replied, "I can't leave." I said, "You need to wait outside. You can't be here." She began to cry. I told her that I was sorry for whatever happened, but I really need to sleep. She looked up at me and smiled and said, "Can I use your bathroom before I leave?" I pointed to the bathroom and she went into it without closing the door. I grabbed my phone off the coffee table. "Peter Parsons, thank you so much, my friend," and dialed 911, but it didn't go through. I yelled, "You need to leave now." I heard nothing from her. I peeked into the bathroom, and what I saw will forever haunt me. She was scratching at her face and smiling in the mirror. I saw that, and I ran to my room and locked the door. I kept yelling, "I called the police." I heard her giggling and saying, "I told you I can't leave." I wanted to cry. I was shaking. I didn't know what to do. I kept telling myself, "I'm strong, I'm strong." 5 minutes went by and I heard knocking on the door as if the situation was going to replay. I peeked out the window to see it was a concerned neighbor, but it was her again. I sprinted to the door and locked it. I was paralyzed in fear. How could she lock my door from inside and be out? I cracked the window open and threw out a sweatshirt and $20 and yelled, "Get a cab, hitch a ride, leave me alone." She didn't touch the sweatshirt or the money and sat there on my steps if she was waiting for me. I began pounding the connecting wall to my neighbor. I dialed 911 again, and finally it went through. As I explained the situation to the dispatcher, I peeked out the window to see she was gone along with the sweatshirt. I felt the biggest relief. Needless to say, I didn't sleep the rest of the morning. As I left for work, I opened the door to see that $20 bill still on the doorstep. It looked like a brand new crisp $20 bill. I picked it up, ran to the car, and left for work. I'm not exactly sure what I experienced that night, but I will never forget it. God damn. What's up, buddy? How are you, baby girl? Go to bed. That was fucking creepy. That was really creepy. What's up, Jeffrey Block? How are you? Jeffrey Block spells his name like I do. You spell it the right way. Yeah, definitely. I don't live in the Hamptons, so Aramek. That's what I was going to say, Andy Davis. It sounds like a fucking lot lizard that really didn't want the $20. She did her job. What was that black stuff on her lips? You know? She's like, blah, 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 blah. Ryan Mack, hang on one second. My email is, good night, baby girl. I love you. My email is right under 59th. Holy shit, Janice Morrow. Thank you so much. Wow, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys. Wow. I'm just looking to see it, all the people that never comment or anything that are just here. Levi. Captain Ron, how are you? Janice, thank you so much. I appreciate you. MJ, yeah, it was a scary story. Is there a connection between Dogman to the big three in general and reptilians? Per Victor, no. Per Victor never said there was a connection. I think there is, but you got to remember, Victor was not a scientist, which he said he wasn't. He was a hunter. He only knew what he knew, you know, which was how to hunt these animals, how to kill them. He shared, you know, that what he heard throughout his job, you know, but other than that, you know, I really think there is a connection because the Sumerians, the Anunnaki, they all talk about this alien race of dog-headed people prior to, and then like everyone knows about the Marco Polo thing with Alexander the Great. So I really think like these alien like dog-headed creatures have been here for a very long time. But once again, there's that portal thing that could open up, and there's a thing called inorganic beings. And if you look into inorganic beings, there's a study done, and these things live in an alternate dimension, supposedly, but scientifically they were studied, and they live and thrive off of our fear, like a vampire. The grays are different than the draconians, though. The grays work for or are kind of enslaved to the draconians. But yeah, inorganic beings are like emotional, draining creatures that I used to think, yeah, I just said that, Chris Berry. I've done a zillion uploads on him, like a zillion, talking about, Phil Schneider. I read a couple of his old like lectures and shit. They're all probers. Fucking ain't right, Nick Hendricks. They all want us to be like this. So they can go like this with their big finger. And I say, no. Are orbs inorganic? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think orbs would be inorganic. I think, yeah, it was just a joke. I think that orbs are something that are present with, like, Ronald Murphy Jr. He's a researcher, not so much anymore, but when he was researching like 10, 15 years ago, really seriously, he talked about his Dogman encounter when he had orbs there were orbs around this Dogman. There were orbs around Bigfoot. I think it's just like a power maybe that comes with them. In Skinwalker in the Pentagon, they talk about how an orb hit one of the naval intelligence officer's wife in the arm, and she got very sick. So I don't think they're inorganic. But that's my own philosophy, like my own theory. I'm not an expert. I've never met one. Is the cop still out there? Oh shit, guys. He pulled someone over. I'm not yelling $20 is $20 now. $20 is $20. No, there's another. The cop is still across the street. The cop car is across the street, but that cop car got. I think he's gonna get a little. Yeah, it's a girl too. It's a girl in the car. She's like, "Give me some of that love, big muffin boy." Oh, my window's open a crack still too. $20. It's $20. Ha ha. Jeff, do lot lizards get crabs? They get big ones. They get real big ones. Oh, shit. All right. Here we go. Yeah, I know. He's like, wait, what? What's time travel? What is the time? What's the time travel is realized forward motion ceases? No shit, 59. That's crazy. Hello, sir. I live on acreage, and to get home, I have to drive down the main road past some farms, subdivisions, and other acreages. In August of 2014, I was driving home from work at midnight. In one of the ditches, when I was about maybe 500 meters away, my high beams illuminated a wolf's head and eyes. It was moving slightly as though if it were eating something or sniffing for something, but my lights didn't show me what. We have coyote out here where I live, and everyone has dogs, but coyote are awful cowardly to be that close to the road, and few people let their dogs roam loose at night. Most importantly, it was too big for a coyote or a dog. Heck, it was even too big for a wolf. It looked like the size of a small bear. As I got closer, it stood up and was about the height of a man, maybe a little taller, and moved towards me. At this point, I passed it going 100 kilometers, and did not look back. Too scared to try and think about what it was. This sighting was only 3 kilometers from my house, so I ran inside. That moment I pulled into the driveway. I am fully convinced with what I saw was a Dogman. Location, middle of Alberta, which is east of Edmonton. I think I scared him with my $20 is $20. He's gone. Gone now. Gone. Caden, you leaving? Caden going bye-bye? Bye, Caden. Caden needs to make more videos with his guns. I miss checking out his guns. Caden needs to make a video wearing like a striped leotard with all of his guns around him in an abandoned hospital. That would be fucking rocking. Lot lizard crabs. Good night, Robert Sharp. Have a good night. They would, Sonia. They definitely would. They would send Caden. Caden would be bounced. They'd be like, bud, you gotta go. I used to work security at a major music venue. Part of my job in the pits was to scan the crowd and make sure that no one was fighting or passing out. One evening, just as the sun was going down and the opening act was on stage, I noticed 2 really strange guys. The show was playing, pulled a crowd of mostly 16 to 20-year-olds. Very young, energetic crowd. These guys were about a foot taller than everyone around them, looking like they were pushing 40 and like they were about to serve court papers. They both had the same suit on in the middle of summer at an outdoor music venue. They both had almost bald heads, like if you were to shave it but let it grow back a week. Super pale skin. It was almost actually white. They stood there completely motionless, off the stage left, staring straight forward. I kept watching them, thinking maybe they were executives for the band or something, but honestly, they were freaking me out and I had nothing better to do. After I stood there staring at them for like 5 minutes, it was like they noticed I was onto them. They both started staring directly at me. I could even feel their stares when I looked away. I approached another guard and asked him if he thought these dudes looked suspicious. He said, yeah, but I never trust a white guy in a suit anyway, and blew me off. When I turned back, the 2 guys, they were walking away and appeared to stride together, like they were moving in sync. They also had a weird stride, like almost rocking side to side. Well, later, when I was taking a water break, I heard my supervisor talking about those 2 tall white guys in suits. I told her I noticed them too. And she went on about how creepy they were and they gave her the willies. She said she was about to approach them, but when she came back with some backup, they had actually left. Elsa Blue, how are you tonight? Yeah, no Puma Pete tonight. Hang on, I gotta shake the old nuts. I've shared I'll share my Dogman encounter later, Chris. I shared it. I shared it last week. I might share it later tonight, but I'm not gonna share it like right now because pretty much everybody's heard it. But I will share it later tonight before the upload or the live stream ends. Jeff's hips don't lie. No, they don't, Larry. They do not. You know what I was doing. Yes, it's also an upload. Ooh, where's Pups tonight? Pups isn't here either. Yeah, no worries, Chris. No worries. I'll share it later. I feel bad because everyone's heard it and I don't want people to share it, hear it 1,000 times. Thank you, Brandy. I will share it though. Yeah, it is. It's once you see something, it's like it was the next day. I completely agree. Wonder if a bullhorn review of the weapon against Dogman. Shari Strong. I glow in the dark myself. Me too. Taking my sister and her kids to Disney. I would rather give Bigfoot the reach around. Fuck yeah, Larry. But dude, that's awesome. That's really awesome that you're taking your sister and her kids though. Uncle Larry, take us here, Uncle Larry. I don't know why your fucking nephews and nieces sound like that, but they do in my mind. Uncle Larry, I need a drink, Uncle Larry. Please, get me some ear hat, Uncle Larry. What the Fox family? What up? Who would win a fight, werewolf or Dogman? Werewolf. They're smarter, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. What? Wait, are you going? You're going to California or are you going to Florida? You must be going to Cali. I'm going back to Cali. I'm going back to Cali. I don't think so. Florida. Ooh. It's going to be hot as balls there, bub. Hot as balls, Uncle Larry. Uncle Larry, why are my balls sweating? Disagreeable. I don't need you telling me when to do a next story. Thanks, so. Appreciate it. I've done like 10 already. What's up, Lucas Williams? So where I live in Canada, the other day my hubby was helping a buddy in the bush sweating balls. Absolutely. Going for Christmas. Oh, Larry, dude, that's awesome. Good for you, man. You are like, those kids will remember that forever. Will you take me, please? I will keep the kids in line. I will just RKO them once in a while. I promise. This happened August 12th, 2020. And I scribbled down as many details as I could on a scrap piece of paper while in my car at the time. I took a drive through Wyoming and then took the Mirror Lake Scenic Byway down into Utah. Mirror Lake Highway is beautiful, and being a weekday, it was not crowded at all, so I could take my time and enjoy it. One of the pull-offs on the road is Slate Gorge Overlook. There's a short trail that leads to the overlook, and you can then look down into the gorge and see the Provo River. No one was there, so I took a seat and let my mind wander. I'd been there for 20 minutes or so when I saw something out from behind the trees. I was excited, thinking it was a moose or an elk, and I always like seeing those. But what appeared was what looked like a hunched over person that was sort of half walking, half crawling rather slowly. While that in of itself was weird, it was even stranger that it looked like a person wearing a really heavy, crudely fashioned gray fur coat with a hood, but one that was several sizes too small. It didn't really make sense to me. It was probably 7 to 8 feet in height and thin. I'd say 200 pounds or so. Also, it was around 80 degrees out with temperatures near 90 in the valley. So it wasn't cold by any means. While the sides are kind of steep, you can get down into the gorge without too much of an issue. I kind of thought maybe it was someone doing a TikTok video or something like that, but I didn't see anyone else around filming. Eventually, whatever it was, made it to the water, stuck its head into the water for a drink as it appeared. As it looked like it was finishing, a group of people were coming up on the overlook, and they had kids with them who were making a bunch of noise, like Uncle Larry's and Christmas. It can echo through the gorge a bit, and the creature or person heard it and took off incredibly fast on all fours over pretty uneven ground. Now, I'm not sure what I saw. In all likelihood, it could have been a person getting in touch with nature wearing a homemade costume. But the way they moved seemed unnaturally human, especially when the noise spooked it and it took off running. I'm sort of conflicted between a person in a fursuit and an actual cryptid. Both seem plausible, and I don't really want to immediately jump to conclusions on what it could be. I've always been into Bigfoot, and it didn't remind me of anything Bigfoot related I've ever seen. So I've pretty much ruled that out. But otherwise, I really don't know. I wish I had thought to have brought my phone with me so I could have snapped a photo, but I left it in the center console since I didn't want it going off and spoiling my quiet time. Any thoughts? I really don't know much about Utah cryptids other than there has been Bigfoot sightings. Also Dogman sightings. But I doubt it was a furry. A furry drinking in the Provo? Maybe. What do you think, Uncle Larry? Andy, have a good night. Get some sleep. Don't let your meatloaf. Puma P is here. Puma P. Puma. Yeah, those furries. Not a Wendigo, Aramic. Maybe Utah. Well, there's that really fucked up story that that bug killer guy did. The what the fuck are bug killer guys called? What are they called? Insecticiders? What are they called? Uncle Larry, what are they called? Exterminator. Thank you, Web Surfer. So, all right. So there was that guy that was under the house during doing his extermination job. And he saw that there was like this monster, that's all he described it was, like this creature. And then 2 weeks later, the whole family's dead. No, thank you. Furry drinking chicory. Let me get some of that chicory. Oh, 5 rings. Did we win tonight? I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. We got to check. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're 1-7. Fuck you, Angels. Oh, 7-2 now? Shit. Tigger is hiding because it's pouring out right now, and he doesn't do anything when it rains except hide and he like cries this weird fucking cry. He sits in the middle of the bathroom and cries. I'm like, what is that gonna do, bud? There's a skylight. The lightning's gonna hit you. Poor buddy. That's what I say. We've had the heat wave all week, and in the middle of the day we'll have like a thunder and lightning storm for like a half an hour. Jersey, thank you so much. I appreciate your love. Thank you. So Tigger literally has hid all week until he knows that the sun is back out again, and he'll come out of the bathroom closet and he'll look up at the skylight and look, and then come out and beg for food and treats and catnip. I gotta open this a minute. It's getting hot. Ugh. See, the cop car is still there. It's still there. Even though the cop pulled someone over, the car is still there. It makes no sense. My grandfather told me this experience when I was staying at his place a couple years back. I don't remember how it came up exactly. It was so odd and out of the blue, and I was taken back that I wrote down all the details that I could remember after the fact. So this isn't word for word transcription, but it'll suffice. Anyway, back in the 1960s, my granddad on my dad's side was drafted into the Army for the Vietnam War. He was discharged in 72 and drifts apart from all of his war buddies except for one. They live remarkably close to one another in Washington State, and both exhibit some serious post-war PTSD issues. Therefore, they both decide to go on a hunting trip together at around autumn season of 73 and try to find some healing and closure post-war. As he tells it, he would always hunt deer in the woods behind his house. In those days, his home was more of a cabin with basic necessities. It was probably late in the afternoon in rural Washington. Anyone who has been in the Pacific Northwest forest knows how thick and dense the foliages are, not to mention the fog. You can't see far ahead of you. Sight lines become blurred. Sounds around you become amplified. This sense of isolation causes your blood pressure to rise. So my granddad and his friend from Nam are both hunting off trail, tying bright markers on tree branches as they move through the underbrush so they don't get lost. Suddenly they hear a sound. It's the blaring sound of a horn train, and it's so loud it causes the two of them to become disoriented. Granddad recalls he fell to his knees, hands on his ears, screaming, feeling his throat moving air, yet not hearing it. The sound doesn't seem to have a direction. The sound is all-encompassing. It's from everywhere. The ground is shaking, and like a bad cliche, as soon as it began, it stopped, dissipating into the instant. They're both kneeling there, stunned. Their ears are ringing so badly they can't hear their own voices. Their mouths move, but nothing happens. As the sun sets, they begin to head back, obviously spooked beyond belief. As their eardrums are shot, they're scribbling notes to each other on a notepad as they hike back to Granddad's cabin. They're heading back and they see something hanging behind a tree up ahead on the trail. Its outlines are blurred, but as it floats, the best way my granddad described it, towards them, it is revealed. It wasn't like looking into a mirror per se, because it was a creature. My granddad felt it. The thing was blurry and fuzzy, but my granddad, in his early 30s at the time, said that he saw himself as an old man with a white beard and frail, sunken eyes. He had to squint, but his facial features were the same. His war friend, however, had a bullet hole in his head. The figure then morphed into black, an eternal void, death. That early evening, pinkish orange sun rays just ended when they reached the blackness. They panicked at this point, running backward into the woods, screaming like madmen. As darkness fell, they decided to keep going, refusing to camp out in the woods. When recounting this experience to me, my granddad, never overly religious, said, "I don't know what the hell that thing was that we saw, but I know for sure it was not from this earth. What still bothers me is that I never saw what it actually looked like. I thought after the fact that it might have been a manifestation of Satan because it was evil. And I'll tell you, I saw true evil in people during the war, but that thing, I don't know. It was something else. It was an evil being, and if I would have gotten closer, well, he trailed off there, but his uncomfortable, haunted glance practically finished the rest." After sprinting for a few miles, their flashlights luckily illuminating their trail markers, they finally reached the cabin, the night sky completely moonless. They anxiously stayed in the cabin until sunrise, their loaded rifles next to them at all times. The windows and doors locked, blinds shut, no lights on. If that thing was still out there, their wooden door wouldn't have been anything for it to get through. Their anxiety-filled pacing must have made the time slow to a crawl. At one point, they broke down and began praying. Neither men were raised religious. Remind you, these are two battle-hardened Vietnam vets who both saw combat. They may have had PTSD for something to scare them to this degree. Yeah, it bothers you, doesn't it? Personally, it makes my skin crawl. Yet, with that said, no other strange encounters or experiences ever happened that night, or ever again for that fact. He moved shortly thereafter to a different town in Washington and promptly met my grandmother. He refuses to this day, nearly 50 years later, to step foot into any forest. Sadly, my granddad said that the thing he and his friend saw in the woods that night was bad, accurate omen for their lives. My granddad has been struggling with alcoholism his entire life. Even today, he has had a liver transplant and still drinks regularly. His friend, however, took his own life in 1973. He couldn't handle his own personal demons. He actually did shoot himself in the head. Perhaps, if there had been proper mental health services back then, things could have turned out different. So, 2 years before they both see the premonition of what their lives are going to look like, he sees an old, frail man. His friend sees himself with a bullet hole and then takes his life 2 years later. That's not cool. What's up, Steph? How are you, buddy? When did you come in? Did I miss you? 30 pack, how are you? Look like somebody's crushing Jeff's hood. Well, good night, brother. I didn't mean to miss you. I'm sorry. Dude, that was probably the freakiest story all night. All night. Skip that ad. Bop. Thank you, 30 pack. I appreciate that. My baby just jumped in bed, so I've got to cuddle with him. Good night, Southern Charmer. Have a good night. Sorry, I didn't mean to burp like that, Southern Charmer. Good night, Southern Charmer's baby, too. Have a good night. They refuse to acknowledge Lyme disease. You can thank the government. I truly believe the government had a part had a part in creating Lyme disease. I 100% believe that. Plum Island, baby. Plum Island, New York. I'm sober. What the Fox family? 100%. So. Oh, Richard Windsor. I hope you share that with me. Steve O Outdoors. Thank you for those pictures, brother. I appreciate that. I love John Allen. John Allen's like, he's my hero. He really is. Hi, Elizabeth. How are you tonight? Oh, Shari. 2 different kinds of pictures. Ticks? Yeah. Plum Island. If you look into Plum Island, there's some weird shit that the government did. Hello, is there a black ops company of dogmen that actually defend human from God knows what? Heard of this? Yeah, there's Victor, a guy that was on my channel. He worked for the military. He worked for an ABC company. Shared that, and now people copy the story that Victor told years ago. The Montauk Monster. I don't know about the Montauk Monster thing, though. I think that's just like some kind of shaved beaver. Yeah, Plum Island is nasty. You're absolutely right. Yes, Chris. Not the shaved beaver. Hang on, I got to do something. There we go. Ugh. He was poisoned, Johnny. He was poisoned. Evan Hawk. Yes, they are. I'm not sure, Web Surfer. This story, all right, so what this guy saw reminds me of what I saw a little bit, and that's why I wanted to share it. And then I'll share my story, Chris Berry. I'm finishing his book. His book is done. It's with the publisher right now. There's a whole lot of other stories that Victor, or experiences that Victor shared in interviews and Q&As. There's a lot of shit on the channel from him. This experience happened 5 years ago, so some of the memories may be a little fuzzy. Sorry about that. It was when I was still in high school, or in the summer of high school. My parents and I and my friends and my friends' parents often went on vacations together when it was summer. We've been all over Hawaii, Bahamas, and places like that. But one place that was on the bucket list was Egypt, especially mine. I love ancient Egyptian mythology, but never thought any of it might have been true until this encounter. The encounter happened, I think, on the 7th day of us staying there. Me and my 4 friends, who D, J, S, and M, were all outside in the hotel in Cairo. And we were walking through the streets talking and smoking. There wasn't many people in the streets, weirdly. The place we were at was usually very crowded. Anyway, it didn't bother us too much. We liked privacy. As we were walking, I heard footsteps, heavy footsteps, running towards us. We all looked behind us from where the footsteps were coming from, but there was nothing there, just an empty street. It was weird, but I guess we all just waved it off. 5 minutes later, when we were sitting on an empty bench, we heard those footsteps again, those same footsteps, and this time we saw what was making the sound. From where we were sitting, an alleyway was in front of us, and there was eye shine coming from it as this thing neared. I thought it might have been a stray dog because there's lots of those, but God, no, I was wrong. As the creature came out, we saw what it was. The moonlight cast just enough light on it. The creature was walking on all fours and covered in black fur. It was sort of skinny, and its proportions weren't like a dog, even though its head looked just like a dog, but not like your classic wolf-type Dogman. This looked like a jackal. That was my first thought when I saw it. I thought it was a jackal, but it was just too big, and it had hands instead of paws with huge claws. We stared into its yellow eyes for a moment before it did something that made my heart stop. It stood on its hind legs. When standing up, it was even more massive than it already was. If I were to guess, I'd say 7 feet tall, maybe more. The creature watched us and we watched it, its head slowly turning to look at us. I guess it didn't perceive us as a threat. It seemed more curious. After a while of it just standing there, the creature turned and began to walk off back into the shadows. After that, we immediately went back to the hotel and sat in silence. I never knew about Dogman at the time, but since I was interested in Egyptian mythology, I thought it was Anubis, the ancient Egyptian god of death. And he's also frequently depicted as the head of a jackal. Once I got back to the States and learned about Dogman, it just fueled the belief in what I saw was real. I didn't imagine it. I couldn't have imagined it. Ancient civilizations knew secrets we don't. And maybe it's a good thing we don't know about them. I don't know what I saw, but I hope I never see it again. Jim Brunson, thank you. Yes, my dad is getting better every day. Every day. Today he walked about a quarter of a mile, like an eighth of a mile out and an eighth of a mile back, down the driveway. I bought him a counter, like a step counter, so he could keep track of his steps. He's just doing amazing. Yeah, thank you, Shari. I appreciate that. Well, Nick Hendricks, the Anubis Dogmen are different. Well, that'd be like saying like redheaded people are different. I don't think they're different. I think people are people. You know what I mean? Like, I honestly think that there are no variant, stage 1, 14, 15. You know, like that's just fucked up. I don't believe that. I think like people are different looking, so why can't they be different looking? You know what I mean? Jonathan Page has a crush on somebody. Congratulations, buddy. I like crushes too. Yeah, my dad came home, Tommy, on June 5th, my mom's birthday. Stormy Light, how are you? Well, Victor said they could talk too, just the werewolf type. It was an amazing gift to my mom. So when I found out that he was coming home, I make a really mean manicotti. I don't eat it. I don't know how I can cook good. I just cook really good. I don't know why or how. But so my dad's favorite meal is manicotti. And so I made him his manicotti. I made him a huge thing of it. And then got my mom some roses and a funny card. And then went with her to pick my dad up and bring him home. And it was just the greatest gift my mom could ever have. The greatest gift my whole family could ever have. And then I posted that picture on Father's Day. It's in the comment or the community post section, which was just a great picture. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, everybody. Oh, thanks, Liz. I can't wait. I really can't wait. Your book's coming from Jimmy autographed too, by the way. Victor was a great guy. Victor was great. I miss him on a daily. But I wanted to share this. That got me thinking. Hang on one second. I got to dig this out. Scientific. Where is it? Where the fuck is it? Okay. So what that kid just shared, right? And for those of you who have been with the channel, you know exactly what I'm going to share. And it's from Nick Van Drimeny. And just a couple of lines out of this are so powerful. You know, every human culture has believed in the existence of other beings, monstrous humanoids, sapient but inhuman. They have gone by different names: boogeyman, bugbear, cyclops, giant, ogre, yeti, troll, Bigfoot, dogman, werewolf, and more. But they are always feared, lurkers in the shadows, threats to the clan, tribe, or hearth. Dungeons and Dragons did not create these monsters, and despite ongoing controversies, they don't represent anything modern. Humanity's legendary heroes have been fighting these creatures since time immemorial. The real question is why? Why does every civilization have similar myths? Why does every culture have legends of monstrous humanoids? And why are they depicted as fearsome and dangerous? Well, my friends, because legends are real. Because Dogman, Bigfoot, ogres, and everything else are real. Right there. And that's from Nick Van Drimeny in his book, Them and Us. And if you guys, I know a lot of you guys have gotten that book, but if you have not gotten the book, or gotten a chance to read it, I think it might be at libraries, but you can download it on your Kindle for or on your phone for $1.99 or $2.99. The book is amazing and 100%. So, hang on a second. I got to flap the old sack around. All right. I'm going to share the encounter quick. My encounter, because going hunting for them soon. Hopefully I'll have some authentic Dogman loincloths back in. Thank you for the order, brother. Shit, Joe. All right. So my Dogman encounter, and I'm going to share it quick because I know a million of you have heard it. So not a million people, but it happened in 1994. I live in upstate New York. I live in the Adirondacks. I live in the foothills of the Adirondacks. I've always been interested in the paranormal, since I was a little kid. And I had weird shit happen to me when I was little. My friend Martin, my friend Gabe, and my girlfriend and my friend Martin's girlfriend were all hanging out one night. And Gabe had this land yacht of a car. He was 18. He was older than 18. He was a year older than us. Yeah, so he was 18. So he could drive legally after 9. Martin and I could not. And so we were in Gabe's car driving around, and we go to this like cul-de-sac that there's new houses being built. So you pull in and it's a U, and the houses are on the back side. Now, important thing to know, the road that ran through, when they carved all this out, they pushed a lot of the brush and a lot of the debris in the woods. So the tree line, the inner tree line, was quite packed with just natural debris. There's about 6 houses being built. And there in the middle is a old orange kind of halogen light thing that just really didn't put out a lot of light, but it put out enough. So we are parked, like, you pull in the U, and the entrance exits here. We're like right here, and we're against the back side of the woods toward the road. So there's woods all around us. So we are just listening to the greatest New York City hardcore band, Biohazard, and I'll never forget, like, we're just fucking rocking out. We weren't drinking, we weren't smoking weed. I was smoking cigarettes. I was probably trying to get laid. And so all of a sudden, there's this loud growling howl. And it was frightening. And the girls scream vampire. I have no idea why. And I've thought about it, why. You know, we didn't watch any movies. I think we watched Dazed and Confused that night. So we didn't watch any vampire movies. The girls jump in the car. They're in the back. Gabe is already in the car. His door is open because he was controlling the music. So Martin and I are outside of the car. And we're looking at the woods and not saying a word to each other. And we see these, like, whitish yellow, but more white than anything, eye shine coming at us in the woods, coming at our location. And they're different heights, like somewhere between 3 to 7 feet in height. They're just, you could see the different variations of height. And there's noise being made this whole time. Well, I'm standing there on the passenger side by the light, on the front light, looking at this. And I wasn't being brave. I was confused. I wanted to know what was going on. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And my friend Martin, who is Czechoslovakian, goes, Jeff, get in the car, you fucking bitch. So, and he's pulling my arm. And I jump in the car and we take off. Now, when we kind of round this corner, the eyes are still behind us in the woods. And we get to the stop sign. And what's standing, so we are on this side of the road, gonna go back into town. It's standing by the stop sign right there on the opposite side of the road. And we all see it. And it looked like Anubis. It looked not earthly. Like, it didn't look like the underworld werewolf. Like, it looked so weird. But it had a snout. It had pointed ears, a snout. It was muscular, but not. It looked like an athlete, like a runner or a basketball player. It wasn't like, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like people say. This thing just looked strong. And we took off back into town. David, thank you so much. So we get out. We drop the girls off. Martin and I get dropped off. Gabe takes off. And Martin and I go back the next day because we can drive now. It's daytime. And we start looking around. We pull in. The people are working on the houses. And the guy screams at us, like, what the hell are you doing? We're just looking, we're like on property looking for Prince. Not Prince, the guitar player, but Prince. And so he's like, get the fuck out of here, yada, yada. And quick thinking, we're looking for his dog. And the guy's like, oh, okay. And like a minute or two goes by and we don't see any kind of prints on the ground. But the guy comes up to us and goes, listen, last night when we were packing up, we heard what sounded like dogs in the woods fighting. Now, those woods go all the way to the Hudson River. There's a couple of mountains. There's an old prison that has been now closed for years. President Grant's cottage, his summer cottage, is out there. So it's just deep woods. So me and Martin look at each other like, what the hell? And we leave. And that was my encounter. The strangest part of the encounter, though, comes years later when I run into Gabe. Now, we lost track of Gabe. Gabe kind of just like stopped hanging out with us because he blamed us. Because me and Martin we listen to everything. We listen to like Fear Factory, Deicide, fucking Obituary. We were just metal kids, you know, we weren't evil, but because we listened to that music, he associated us with that way of life. So I'm like, what happened to you? And he's like, oh, this is now like a couple of years ago. And he's like, that night when I was sitting in the car getting the music, you know, playing the music, I had my door open. And he said, before the howl and the screams, he goes, I looked and he goes, I saw two of these creatures that we saw on the road walking across the road, but they were walking on all fours and it looked like they were going in the woods behind the car. So, and then all this happened within like less than a minute of time, like seconds, you know, from him seeing that to that scream, that howl noise, to us getting out of there. And that's my encounter. Have you seen him lately? Yeah, I've seen him. Melvins is one of the greatest bands ever. I love the Melvins. Haha. Logan, Melvins are great. Melvins with Phantomas is like one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. Melvins and Phantomas. Dave Y, thank you for hitting me off with $9.99, brother. I appreciate it. They were flanking the car. Definitely 100%. Guar. Haha. Supa, thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate that. Aramic, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you. I think I might have a Mothman encounter in here somewhere. Let me see what I have. There's a couple encounters that I didn't get to share last week. All right. 20 bucks is 20 bucks. All right. Oh yeah, Kenny G. We'll do the Kenny G. Cop went by. Great, Jeff. My name's Gabe and my brother's name is Martin. That's so funny, G. Brooks. Aramek, thank you for blessing 10 people with memberships. I love you. Thank you. I am getting good. I was playing You Belong to the City, You Belong to the Night by Phil Collins. That sounded good, right? Yeah, buddy. They call me Jeffy N. And all the girls love my horn playing. The horn could be music, like Faith No More, music to make love to. Was it Glenn Fry? Okay. I thought it was Phil Collins, but I don't know. I think I'm pretty damn good. Daniel Gofro or Gifro. It's called a shofar. It's a Jewish ceremonial horn. Supposedly from Tim Coonbo Baker, who, if there were an expert, I would say he was probably the closest one. If you blow it 3 times while in the woods, supposedly it's supposed to attract Bigfoot. I don't know. I have in the woods where Tom Mezek disappeared a bunch of times, but I've never been. My booty is still good. So, Warrior of God, how are you? Right on, 5 rings. What's the score right now? You go far with a good shofar. Fuck yeah, boy. That's awesome. Wonder if government black projects would play off ancient folklore and create modern day chimera. S23, I talked about that a little bit while I was hiking where, sweet 5 rings. So where Tom Mezek disappeared, missing 411, covered by David Politis, happened in the Adirondacks. I have family members that were involved in the search and rescue party, yada, yada. I really believe that something, because in that location, supposedly in Saranac Lake, there was a underground military base discovered that had bunks for little kids in it. Supposedly it was used for MK Ultra in the 60s and 70s. I don't know the exact story. I know that a guy had found it online one time, posted it, and he was silenced and the post got taken down. I really think that there's pacts being made with things that shouldn't be on our side of the wall here. And meaning wall, like dimensional wall. But I really like, here's like a theory I came up with, just, and it's stupid. It probably is stupid, but so what if those little kids that were in that military base, that underground like place, what if they grew up, but a few had escaped into the woods and there were girls and boys there? And let's say they became old enough to breed, but living in the woods, feral, but trained with this MK Ultra thing, and just run wild through the Adirondacks. I don't know. It's something weird that I fucking came up with. I'm dumb. Yeah, like feral humans, but better. I don't think like a human could turn feral by just staying out in the woods. Like, I think feral humans are something different completely, like descent. Like, that's like when someone says crawler or feral humans, that's what I think of. But like a couple of kids hanging out in the woods. Thank you, Firehorse. So this is a good experience. I wanted to share this last week, but I ran out of time. This is an experience one of my other friends told me, and I will be sharing it from his point of view. To give a little background information, Me and my dad never saw eye to eye. We'd always get into arguments about small things, and that impacted our relationship. Eventually, our mom would make us socialize, and we set up a 3-day camping trip to a beautiful forest with lots of mountains, lakes for fishing. We have a few things in common, but one of those things is fishing. We were certain that these lakes had some big fish in them. We said our goodbyes to our family and we set out for camp. It took us 5 hours to get there. But when we did finally, we were in awe by the beauty of the scenery. It looked like it had never been touched by man. It had beautiful flowers and the mountains were just like images. We soon walked down to the lake that we saw and started fishing. We caught a large bass that we planned on eating for lunch. When we got back, we set up camp. We built our tent, set the fire up, and we had our truck about 20 feet away. We started prepping dinner, the bass, when we noticed the woods were silent. We thought it was because we were here and continued on. When dinner was ready, we dug in. We were very exhausted and hungry from fishing all day and driving. It was delicious. After that, we talked for a while. My dad even told me a few stories from his childhood. It was entertaining. Soon, the sleep got to us and we headed for our tents. It took us about 5 minutes to pass out. In the morning, we set out for a certain place in the woods that had lots of deer. We were amazed when we saw at least 5 deer in one spot. We ended up killing 2 of them and planned on eating one for dinner. After a long day of hunting, we headed back to the camp. The woods were now noisy this time compared to the night before. We cooked and ate. It was delicious. We soon got into the tent for sleep. At around midnight or so, I woke up to sounds of footsteps a few yards away. I looked and I saw my dad was awake too. We were groggy and we grabbed our guns to try and scare or kill whatever was out there, preventing us from our sleep. We soon found where the noise was coming from and started heading in that direction. We shined our flashlight in the direction of the sound. We saw nothing at first, but then our eyes started to make out this mass of fur. Then it started to move. We aimed our guns at it and fired. The sound of our guns was almost deafening. All of a sudden, it whipped around and revealed itself to us. At first, it looked like a wolf, but I started to notice some strange things about it. It had missing hair. It looked very muscular to be a normal wolf. It also had red eyes. All of a sudden, it stood on its hind legs and howled at us. It sounded unnatural. Then it started to run at us. My dad, without warning, picked me up and started bolting toward our camp. I looked behind, and to my horror, it was following us, running on 2 legs. It felt like forever, but we finally made it back to the campsite. We just hopped in the truck. Thank God my dad had the keys in his pocket. Threw ourselves in the truck and Dad floored it. We saw that it was chasing us and even threw a rock at the truck. We sped until we saw a motel and stopped. We rushed in, paid for a room, and slept. Only it took forever for both of us to fall asleep. In the morning, we went back to our campsite and found that all of our stuff had been destroyed. Luckily, our important stuff was untouched. We packed up, sped out of there, got home. We said that it wasn't as we hoped, and we never talked about that night since. But luckily, me and my dad don't fight anymore. We haven't told anyone about this in fear of getting made fun of. I know it was what I encountered that night was not normal. Some things looked like a dream, but in reality turned out to be a nightmare. Gravity fucking cheeseburger. What's going on? There he is, Mr. Haunted. The book author himself. Jimmy. Jimmy is with us. I'm going to have my friend Mr. Haunted on this show soon so he can share what it was like to work with Ed and Lorraine Warren, what it was like to know Father Malachi Martin. And if you guys haven't, you guys got to check out his new book. Mr. Haunted, The Origins by Jimmy Petinito. And he's with us, blessing us with his presence. Hang on, my balls are sticking to my legs. Ugh. Oh, the cocksuckers. Ha ha ha. Oh, it's going to be awesome. I love Jim. He's fucking great. I cannot wait until I'm surprised he's up right now. He must be getting up for work because he sleeps early. We do have an amazing group. You guys are awesome. I cannot wait until he comes on the show because he really did. He was the cameraman for the Warrens. You know, he got to meet Father Malachi Martin. I got shower to shower on him, Tim, but it just doesn't seem to work, you know, especially sweating. It's a heat wave. You know, I found out that when you do shower to shower and it's sweaty down there, it kind of turns into this like really kind of gross paste. It's almost like paper mache on your nut sack. It's just not a pleasant thing. Excuse me. Mr. Haunted, this story is for you, my friend. I'm not exactly sure when this took place, but I know it was somewhere around in between the first and third grade. Apologies, my memory isn't really the best, so just bear with me. I never really speak about this with people, mainly because it feels more like a dream now, although I've clarified with my cousin that it was not. Some backstory before the encounter. While I grew up, my mom and I lived in a flat for most of my childhood. It was a 2-bedroom place within what some may call a complex of flats and houses located in Eldorado Park, South Africa, in which it was hard to find people who didn't know each other because it was just the two of us. My mom and I had our own rooms, even though I would always sleep in my mom's room on a single bed she had kept in there for me. Both before as well as after the encounter, I never liked being anywhere in the house at night without my mom or anyone else. It didn't matter to me whether the lights were on or not. Whenever the sun went down, it would always feel like I was being watched. Granted, both my mom and I always wrote it off as nothing more than an overactive imagination due to the fact that we both always watched and loved horror movies. But even so, whenever I was alone at night, the fine hairs across my entire body would stand strong, while the feeling of being watched would overpower any and everything I felt, matched only by anxiety and dread. Now, on to the encounter. The experience takes place in my old bedroom, the place that always freaked me out the most. I don't remember what or who it was for, but my mom was throwing a party. At that point, she had basically programmed me to steer clear of any sort of adult business or conversation, for better or worse. So myself and a couple of other kids were sent to that very room I feared the most. Although having other kids there with me helped ease the worries. We had already been in there for a couple of hours before I had a brilliant idea. I don't know why I did this or why even it came to mind, seeing as I don't recall encountering anything of this sort before this point, although, as I said, my memory isn't the best. It was myself, my cousin, and a few friends of mine that lived on the flats as well. In total, there were about 6 of us. After having our fair share of fun, I had the idea of showing them the so-called monster in the closet. Room layout, apologize for all the context, but I feel that it may be needed at one point or another, or may help overall clarify. If you stood at the door and looked into my room, you would see my room's door opened from left to right, with the light switch being on the left in the corner. A queen-size bed would be straight ahead, right underneath the window. If you stepped into the room and faced towards your right, the bed would now be on your left, the door would be on your right-hand side. I never had an actual closet, but I had 2 antique cupboards, one for my clothes and one for my toys. The cupboard with all of my clothes stood right behind the door, while the one with my toys stood way back with only a rectangular table next to it and a medium-sized carpet on the floor, which I played on. I may have not had a closet, but the cupboard behind the door essentially worked as one, with the door on the left going from top to bottom, while the door on the right only went halfway with a few drawers underneath it. As I was saying, we had our fun before I decided to show them the monster in the closet. We all gathered by the door, closing it around halfway for us to get a view of the entire room. While I stood in the corner behind everyone else with my hand on the light switch, I then turned the light off, leaving us in the dark, with just a bit of moonlight shining through the window, leaving us with just enough light to see what was going on inside. As we stood there, everything seemed normal at first, with my cousin and friends hammering me with questions as to what we were doing, with myself just saying, "Watch," as we stared at the darkened room. It didn't take long before we watched as the door on the right-hand side of the cupboard started to open slowly. Naturally, this freaked us all out. So I turned the lights back on and watched the door shut way faster than it opened. We ran out. Being kids, we stood at the entrance and laughed for a bit, making jokes and talking. We eventually went back inside and continued to do it two or three times more, switching off the light and waiting for the door to open before turning it back on and running out of the room. It was fun for us. However, because I was really curious, on the 4th time we did it, I watched for a bit longer in order to see if anything else would happen. After the door opened, I watched as everyone ran out, making sure to keep my finger on the light switch. I watched as a single leg took a step out of the cupboard. Although the room was dark, I could clearly make out the leg and foot for the mere fact that it seemed to be absorbing all of the light that it came in contact with, even though it wasn't much, making the room seem lighter than it actually was. To this day, I have never seen anything as dark as it, or at very least as dark as it appeared to be. I immediately turned the light on and ran out, telling everyone what I had seen. They were skeptical at first, thinking I was joking, so after a little while, we went back and I did it again for the fifth and final time. This time, because of the conversations we were having, my curiosity shot through the roof. I needed to see how that thing looked, so we did it again. We watched the door open and the foot take a step out before they all ran. Myself, on the other hand, stood and watched a little longer. This time, after watching the foot step out, I watched as a hand gripped the top of the door before using it as leverage to get out. As it stood in front of the door, its head and shoulders could be seen above the frame of the door and cupboard itself, meaning that this thing stood at least 8 or 9 feet in height. I was instantly frozen in place out of fear as my blood ran cold. And I had just realized the full scope of what I had gotten myself into. From where I stood, it slowly turned its head as it looked over at me. Its entire body was so dark that I couldn't see any facial features or anything. All I could make out was the shape of its body, what it looked like with a pair of horns on its forehead, which seemed as if it sat right below ceiling, as well as what appeared to be its eyes. Once it laid its eyes on me, It felt as if it was looking into the furthest depths of my soul. Its eyes shined red within the darkness, as all surrounding sounds quickly faded. It was just me and it, although it was most likely only a few seconds. It felt like time ended. I was still paralyzed with fear with my hand on the light switch as it moved slightly around the door, leaning on it as it began to reach out for me. Although I know I shouldn't have, I couldn't bring myself to move an inch. I watched it get closer and closer before my cousin claimed she saw its hand through the moonlight of the window as it was reaching for me. She moved quickly, grabbed my arm, and snapped me back into reality, which allowed me to flick the light on. As I turned the light on, the creature vanished into the cupboard. The door slammed shut as I ran out of the room, my heart pounding as I was breathing heavily. Tears began to run down my face as one of my friends went to call my mom, who sent everyone home shortly thereafter. My cousin was the only one who slept over, even though no one had any intention of going home other than my friends. To this day, we have no idea what the creature was. If anyone has a clue or an idea, I'd love to hear it. So, a South African closet monster, shadow person, but I've never heard of a shadow person with horns and red eyes. Ugh. Yeah, I agree. Joe. But also, I mean, it could have had bad intent and just couldn't get to him, but it could move back into the closet quick like that. So why couldn't it come out of the closet like that? So yeah, I do agree with you. It was probably just scaring the shit out of the kids. I would have pissed on the cupboard.
Why? Because $20 is $20, policeman.
All right, guys. We are 2 hours and almost 30 minutes in. I am hitting the hay tonight. I am beat. It's been a long week. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Jimmy, me and you this week, we got to connect. I got to get you on the show. Janie, we're going to get you on this show this week. I want to do a lot of interviews this week, actually. That's my goal, is just interview. Savage Lunatic, have a good night. Save the last zombie, you as well. Liz, thank you. Tyler, love you. Have a great night. Guys, I had a blast tonight. I really did. Thank you for making every Saturday special. Even though I will say that Saturday is a long and hard day for me because I got to record a shitload and then get ready for this. But it's always worth it when it comes time to it. So thank you. And I appreciate you guys. I really do. So, Nick, have a good night. Good night, Grandis, Udo. Alan Howell, have a good night. Tom, have a good night. Ryan Mack, have a good night. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it if it's your first time. All right. Good night, guys. Thank you once again. Good night, Cardinal.